Tonight on Joy News Prime, death toll in Cape Coast Takoradi Highway accident now at 35 after yet another one of the critically injured passengers passes on. The relatives of the deceased are meanwhile demanding the release of the corpses for burial. In another development, the Medina MTTD says pedestrians are being knocked by vehicles on the Medina-Adentan Highway despite the completion of footbridges there.
If people want to cross the road and they use the footbridge, they are more safe than using the road. That is one of our biggest problems. If you see those who were killed, almost all of them were killed during the daytime.
Also in this bulletin, Advisory Committee of the Electoral Commission directs the EC to dialogue with political parties on plans to compile new voters register. And former President Kufuor says the National Reconciliation Commission achieved its objectives despite complaints many victims of the atrocities during the revolution are yet to be compensated.
Thought we needed time to build our nation. So what had gone under the bridge, what had gone under the bridge, let's draw the line, compensate where possible, allow decent barriers for people who had served the community, as that we managed to do.
And in business,
Second Deputy Central Bank Governor Elsie Awaji says commencement of prosecution of persons involved in banks collapse should help ongoing sensitization of the financial sector.
Too many people lose money, and it is a definite hope that that doesn't happen anymore. And we are doing all we can to engage key stakeholders like the police service.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Joy News Prime comes to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle in Accra on digital address GA0992539. We are also on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. Please stay tuned in. Former chairman of Confiscated Assets Committee under President Mills, Carl Wilson, is accusing the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office, Frank Asiedu-Bekwe, of abusing his office in allocating 151 cars to some selected beneficiaries. It follows Joy News' investigations, which uncovered how the state lost thousands of cedis after confiscated cars were auctioned cheaply by politically connected individuals. At least in one case, the duty on a vehicle was captured to have been paid for by the office of the president. Investigative journalist Kwete Nate reports that in one instance, only 25,000 cedis was paid on a vehicle when the estimated duty ought to have been 80,000 cedis.
It's a 2004 VW Touareg. This confiscated vehicle was allocated to one Charles Niteko Tete. A quick online inquiry shows the import duty on this vehicle should range between 63,000 and 88,000, but it was auctioned at just about 25,000. The beneficiary provided a cover letter issued by the Office of the President of Ghana. To verify this, we sent the chassis number of the vehicle to the GRA short code 1477. It returned the make and model of the vehicle as VW Touareg and the importer as the Office of the President with a duty of 25,381 Ghana cedis paid. This amount is just about 1/3 of the estimated duty. But this is contrary to the provisions of the Customs Act 2015, which stipulates that, quote, the price at which a forfeited motor vehicle is disposed of, whether by auction, sale, allocation, or any other method, should include the duty and eligible taxes on the motor vehicle.
You go through the same process of clearance, so you pay the access duty, and then you go ahead and pay your demurrage, all the taxes, all the levies, all charges, prior to release from the ports.
The GRA platform shows no taxes were paid on the vehicle. Head of auction at the GRA, Prince Akwabwa, tells Joy News his office's interest is not in who exploited the system, but whether duties were paid on the vehicle.
Office of the President.
Yes.
I think that one was allocation.
Okay.
Yes. It presupposes that a letter was received with the name Office of the President. And then when we sat on it as a committee, the letter, in fact, emphasis is not given on the name, but it surfaced that it is one of the letters considered for allocation. So we allocated the vehicle as such, and then the access duty was paid.
By normal terms, must Office of the President pay duty on a vehicle that it wants to use?
You know, Office of the President is big. So somebody writes a letter and puts Office of the President there. We are not after the name. We want somebody who can afford and who can pay the access duty. So once this letter is received, and even Office of the President who receive it, so the emphasis is not on the name. The emphasis is whether the duty was paid. And according to our checks, the duty has been paid, and it was paid by an individual.
But the duty paid was far less than what was supposed to be paid on the 2004 VW Touareg. This is not the only confiscated vehicle on which taxes were not paid. A 2010 Lexus wagon was allocated to one Daniel Akologo. The estimated duty on such a vehicle is 51,000 Ghana cedis. But it was auctioned to Cecilia Kofi at 30,000 Ghana cedis, representing a shortfall of more than 20,000 cedis. In another deal, a 2012 Hyundai Sonata was allocated to one Alexander Jedu. 16,000 Ghana cedis was paid by one Nana Kwame Ajare to the GRA on the vehicle when the estimated duty was 27,000 cedis. In this case too, the 16,000 Ghana cedis paid covered the duty. Out of the 5 vehicles sampled from the 151 confiscated cars allocated, the state could have lost an estimated duty of 130,000 Ghana cedis based on checks from the online platform duty calculator. This practice, our investigation showed, was widespread when we examined all the 151 vehicles the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office, Frank Asiedu Bekwin, requested to be allocated on the 20th of December 2017. His letter to the Commissioner General of the GRA read in part, quote, "I hereby write for the consideration of the attached list of vehicles with their chassis numbers to be allocated to the corresponding names. Your usual cooperation in this regard is highly anticipated." Unquote. This request was also made on a letterhead claiming to be from the office of the President. The request was sought when Mr. Bekwin was head of the Confiscated Assets Committee. Head of auction at the GRA, Prince Akwabwa, explains that members of this committee are not supposed to make allocations. Their duty is to monitor the process.
But the fact is that if you come to Section 59 of the Customs Act 2015 Act 891, it made it clear that goods confiscated are confiscated to the state. So therefore, the state has a duty to monitor and then the disposal of those goods. So the confiscated secretariat comes in to monitor how those goods are disposed of.
So if I'm a member of the confiscated committee, my job only is to monitor. I can't allocate.
Never. No allocation is done by the confiscated secretariat.
He explains how his unit deals with influential persons who apply for vehicles to be allocated to them.
We have a way of scrutinizing the letters to decipher which one is of merit. And then you can also come to the auction grounds, and the days are advertised in daily papers. You come to the auction grounds. In fact, for some reason, customs don't do the auction, the public auction. So, as you indicated, I cannot guarantee you I cannot guarantee you that you can. Once you apply, you will definitely get.
Joy News contacted the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office, Frank Asiedu Bekwin, for his comments on the matter. He declined to speak. Kwete Nate's report for Joy News.
Speaking on the Super Morning Show, former chairman of Confiscated Assets Committee under President Mills, Carl Wilson, indicated it was irregular for the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office to allocate vehicles to political cronies.
I can see that there's a lot of abuse of office in this from the little I've heard. The committee doesn't function like the way we function. They are just to supervise what is going on.
As in
they don't allocate.
The committee today.
The committee today.
Okay.
They didn't have the powers we had.
Okay.
We had tremendously a lot of power at the time. This committee doesn't have. They go in, they are there to supervise whatever goes on as far as auction is concerned.
Okay.
When I understand that the new law here specifies only on auction, and then I'm hearing allocation. Where does the allocation come in? Where does allocation come in? How can the supposed head, the head of political affairs, that's the title now, how can you write a letter with names on it? Those names, who are they? Cronies? Ghanaians? If they are Ghanaians, allow them to go in personally, write a letter to the committee and apply. That's what's supposed to be. It doesn't have to come from the office of the president. As long as you are a Ghanaian, you apply. If the cars are available, you are allocated. That's why it is called allocation. Now, the law specifies auction. The new law specifies auction. So where does the allocation come in? And now the head from the office of the president have to have a whole list with names attached and a requesting that cars be allocated to these individuals. Who are they? One, it smells of cronyism. That's what is going on. Because, number one, the rep from the office of the president makes a list, attach names to it, and then send a list with specific requests. Allocate the cars to these people. And now, two, those cars are allocated, not only that they didn't carry the normal value, the values are depreciated. They are lower than the normal value. So the ordinary citizen will question what exactly is going on. So you are right to be asking this question, what is going on? There's clearly an abuse of office here.
Mr. Carl Wilson was speaking on the AM show this morning. Former President John Kufuor says despite government's inability to pay compensation due persons recommended by the National Reconciliation Commission, the objective for its establishment was achieved. He explains the commission was set up to help end the cycle of political violence that had characterized the country's politics over the years. A recent Joy News special assignment documentary revealed some of the compensation packages are still outstanding. Responding to questions when members of the Kufuor Scholarship Program paid a courtesy call on him at his residence in Accra, the former president said reconciliation was a priority.
Yes, we returned some of these confiscated properties to their owners because the people were deprived of their assets not through legal processes. The due process of the law is here. That was not the way. It was just raw exercise of power. How did you build the thing? We've taken it. Your money, how did you make 50,000 cities? We've taken it. But I know that some of the compensations? Some, even as we speak, I hear not all of them were paid. But the whole idea of reconciliation was to try to allow people to come out and speak out the pent-up feelings, the hurt feelings, so they wouldn't be motivated to go and try to settle scores, which would have been violent still. Well, I thought we needed time to build our nation. So what had gone under the bridge, what had gone under the bridge, let's draw the line, compensate where possible, allow decent barriers for people who had served the community, as some as head of state, some as generals within defense forces. That we managed to do, but we couldn't do all of them. And even as we speak, we know there are still people who are so hurt and whose compensations have not been done. But we needed to draw the line so we could live normally.
Former president observed that several coups d'etats the country experienced during the First, Second and Third Republics happened because politicians like him could not speak the truth to their leaders.
72. My government, of which I was a member, was overthrown. And I was picked up like a rabbit and put into detention. I stayed in Ashford prison for 1 year, 3 months. I think the things that contributed or made it easy for the coup makers to succeed was that perhaps we, when I say we, I'm talking of the members of government, members of parliament then, we were not critical enough, we were not outspoken, we deferred too much to leadership. Because 27th December, just 2 days after Christmas, people had not even come back from the Christmas enjoyments. We were summoned to the castle to tell us we were going to devalue the currency of our country. How much devaluation? 44%. And what happened within just 2 weeks after that? It's history now. So that would be the mistake that I own up to. I was one of the people who just didn't speak up. So that you should learn from.
Police in Medina here in Accra has revealed pedestrians are still losing their lives on the Medina-Adentan Highway despite completion of the footbridges along the stretch. The bridges were installed after massive protests prompted by a number of fatal pedestrian knockdowns. Medina Divisional Commander of the Motor Transport and Traffic Directorate, Superintendent Paul Wesley Barr, says pedestrians are still being knocked down despite the provision of the footbridges and prosecutions of persons who endanger their lives by crossing the highway. He says 3 lives were lost the week before Christmas.
After the completion of the footbridges, the recalcitrant ones are saying they will not use the footbridge. That led to we embarking on 2 major operations at the place. The first one, we arrested about 110 people. We took them to court. Then our last operation, we arrested 55. Also, we took them to court. 165 people. They were all fined. We gave them two counts, and then every count attracted 60 Ghana cedis. Everybody was fined 120 Ghana. They have been dead. Even a week to Christmas, we recorded 3 on this stretch of the road from Race Junction right to Firestone. That is our jurisdiction with Legon. We recorded 3 deaths.
He encouraged the public to use the footbridges which have been installed specifically with the safety of pedestrians in mind.
We have to still continue with the education. But apart from that, we as a law enforcement agency will also enforce the law to make sure that everybody complies with the law. The challenges we face is that the understanding that the footbridges are a safety measure. So that if people want to cross the road and they use the footbridge, they are more safe than using the road. That is one of our biggest problems. If you see those who were killed, almost all of them were killed during the daytime. The footbridges serve as a safety measure for them to cross. It is not there for anybody to punish anybody. It is because of our good, our safety. That is why the government have to take that speed to bring the footbridges into being. So we have to use it, and then we all stay safe.
Toll in Cape Coast Takoradi Highway accident now at 35 after yet another one of the critically injured passengers passes on. The relatives of the deceased are meanwhile demanding the release of the corpses for burial.
There lies my sister. Oh, Haji Hadija.
One more person has been confirmed dead in Tuesday's tragic accident at Dompoase on the Cape Coast Takoradi Highway. The latest death brings to 35 the number of people killed in that road crash. A statement from the National Road Safety Authority stated that 25 victims with varying degrees of injuries are still on admission. Excerpts of the statement reads, preliminary investigations can further confirm that the vehicles involved were public service transport vehicles operated by GPRTU from the Kaneshie and Takoradi Accra terminals. They were a Hyundai bus with registration number GN3780 2010 and a MAN diesel bus with registration number GR5704 2018 that were traveling from Accra to Takoradi. While we commiserate with the families of victims of this incident, the authority has, pursuant to its mandate, commissioned a multidisciplinary crash investigation into the crash to determine the contributory factors and institutional lapses that may have accounted for the crash. This, among others, will inform remedial actions and measures. The authority will wish to assure the motoring public that it is taking appropriate steps to exert some control on the operations of commercial road transport organizations. These steps include a vigorous sensitization of the operators of the new mandates of the authority, training of some 13,000 high-risk commercial drivers, as well as the development of a legislative instrument for the regulation of road transport operations pursuant to the National Road Safety Authority Act 2019, Act 993. In the interim, the public is reminded that road safety is a way of life that can be achieved by observing basic safety precautions on speeding, wrongful overtaking, fatigue, and distracted driving, while passengers are expected to assume frontline roles by speaking up against driver misbehavior. And it was issued by the National Road Safety Authority. Meanwhile, relatives of the 35 persons killed have begun piling pressure on authorities to hand over their bodies as public anger continues to grow about the number of lives claimed by road accidents. The surviving driver of Tuesday's gory accident has been speaking from his hospital bed about circumstances leading to the dastardly incident. He is, among others, discounting earlier overtaking claims as causing of the accident. A 6-year-old girl who survived the accident is still looking for her parents, and nothing has changed at the location of this accident. The 45-year-old driver, in an interaction with the Central Regional Minister Kwame Duncan and his team at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, recounted the entire incident.
Many relatives of the dead in the accident continue to pour in at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. The situation could be likened to one going to check his or her exam results to know whether he or she has failed or has passed. This woman here has been praying that the checks they are doing at the hospital morgue should not include his brother, their lastborn. But unfortunately, her fears were confirmed. The brother was gone. Many continue to trickle in to embark on the same exercise. One of such persons was Isikadu Katan, Member of Parliament and Minister for Railway Development, Joe Gate. He lost his constituency financial secretary.
One of the constituency officers, Makonde Hajia, very good woman. She lives in Kojoko. We went, we noticed how hardworking she was in the party in Kojoko. Then she became a polling station chairperson. And then we elevated her to the position of financial secretary. She was a selfless person. She used not just her time, but also her money. And she did, it wasn't only politics. She was a stalwart in the society. she did a lot for people. From the reports I hear yesterday, the crowds of people went to her house, the reaction. It shows that she was doing things for people that even others didn't know. The next thing I heard was that this accident happened. First, I heard she survived. Then they told me that she had passed away. She was a good person. And so today, cabinet is being held today. Usually cabinet is held on Thursday, but today the president brought it forward for certain reasons. And you cannot, as it were, excuse yourself on cabinet. I mean, the president takes it very serious. We take it very serious because by the constitution, it's our duty to assist the president. Every 2 weeks we meet in order to think about Ghana, the country that the people of Ghana has given to us in trust for them, to serve them. But when I told the president yesterday about what has happened, he immediately said to me that you must go.
Inshiraba Ansah and her brother Adom Ansah were also traveling with their father, John Ansah, their mother, whose name we only know as Martha, and their younger sibling from the eastern region to Takoradi. These two have lost their dad, their mom, and their 8-month-old sibling in this accident. 10-year-old Inshiraba had an injury on the hip and the upper part of the arm, while 6-year-old Adom Ansah sustained injuries on the head. His head has been sutured now, but their walls have almost crashed. They've been asking for their parents and their sibling. Central Regional Minister Kwame Nadankan and the Central Regional Police Commander with the entourage were there to visit. Other survivors shared their stories. CEO of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Dr. Eric Kofinjedu, has been calling for calm among family members. He says the hospital has to exhaust all processes before the bodies could be released to them.
Yeah, from yesterday to today, we have been trying to manage the mass casualty that occurred on the Takoradi Cape Coast stretch. And you know, around between 12 and 1 o'clock, we had a call from an observer that there was an accident, and we quickly mobilized our resources to contain the situation. So together, we had a total of about 34 bodies in our mortuary that we initiated administrative processes and legal processes to get the bodies identified. And then, you know, they're all coroner's inquest, and the coroner will have to give us the necessary directives as to how to proceed. So from yesterday to today, we have been managing mass casualty. The 25 that are remaining are fine. The ones in the body are in the process of body identification and coroner inquest documentation to go through. And then as and when we get the clearance from the coroner, the bodies will be released to the deceased family.
Driver of the red bus, who earlier accounts suggested he was overtaken, has been speaking. He gives a different account and discounts earlier claims. It is not true that I was overtaking another car. I was even on the second gear, and that cannot be a speeding gear. What happened was that there was an articulated truck that has stopped in the middle of the road. I tried veering off, and in the process, the white bus rammed into ours. It wasn't easy. It wasn't that I was overtaking any vehicle. I had to escape through the roof of the car to safety. I got injured on my chest, my arm, and my leg, and couldn't move. Back here at the accident scene, the regional police commander and the regional minister are here to actually learn what really transpired and other analysis as part of their investigative processes.
So we are back at the accident scene, the spot where exactly the accident happened
On my right, you see a long stretch of the road. On my left, you see a very sharp curve, and that is where we are told that the overtaking was done, the unsuccessful overtaking was done. But there are two narratives now. Apart from the unsuccessful overtaking, the driver who survived, the driver that was doing the overtaking, has been relating to the police that another articulated truck ran over them. But the regional police command indicated, or it's indicating that they are going to keep that in the investigation as well. So look at the wreckage that is left. The vehicles or the metals that we sit in that we call vehicles, look at the end, how it looks like now. It's reduced to rubble. Yesterday, these things were flattened, nothing. So you see the tires, how the tires have been reduced to. Look at what covers us when we sit in the car. Everything has been reduced to rubble. It's a very, very sorry sight, a gory incident that really happened here. The regional police commander, COP Paul Awini, has been addressing the media, indicating, narrating what happened to the regional minister. The regional minister is calling for stiffer punishment for drivers that drive recklessly on our road. My name is Richard Kwejo for Joy News.
And back in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Now, time now for business. Sandra Apenu is here with more in business. What's the Bank of Ghana saying?
Yes, they're justifying what happened yesterday, prosecution arrest of the two officials.
Are we going to see more?
Yes, definitely we're going to see more. But from tomorrow also, you're likely to pay for more at the pump when you go and buy fuel. I know you don't like that. Anyway, good evening. I'm Sandra Esenam, and let's do business. Second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Elsie Awadzi, says the prosecution of the two bank officials complements effort by the central bank to enforce regulations in the financial sector. She was responding to the arrest of CEO and founder of defunct UT Bank, Kofi Amoabeng, and CEO of dissolved Beige Bank.
Following the banking sector cleanup, there has been concern over the low confidence level that has riddled the industry, even though deposits have so far picked up. To this end, the regulator engaged the Ghana Police Service in the first of a series of a sensitization exercise. Elsie Awadzi is the second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana.
We've seen too many fingers burned in the recent past in Ghana. We've seen too many people lose money, and it is a definite hope that that doesn't happen anymore. And we are doing all we can to engage key stakeholders like the police service to ensure that we're able to mobilize ourselves to enforce the law strictly sooner than later.
Meanwhile, Madam Elsie Awadzi has issued a word of caution to all players in the financial sector who flout the regulator's rules.
Financial services are licensed activities, and we expect that the persons or the institutions that engage in them are licensed as the law requires them to do. And if the police service find anybody that is engaging in financial services, in particular taking money from the public or promising loans to the public that is not regulated by us, that they report this and actually help us to enforce the laws to stop that from even going any further.
The exercise is expected to be replicated across some selected public institutions across the country.
All right, so that was the second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, and who actually visited the police headquarters today, where they have embarked on a rigorous sensitization program on the rights and responsibilities of customers in Ghana's financial sector. Let's go back to our earlier story, where the second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana says that the prosecutions of the two officials of the banks that collapsed was a step in the right direction to solve and bring about sanity in the financial sector.
We have always said, after we completed our cleanup exercise, that we had passed on all relevant information to the law enforcement agencies, and we expected them to conduct their own investigations and proceed to do the needful if they found any behavior to have had criminal implications. And so I believe what we saw yesterday was in line with what the law enforcement authorities may have found to be behavior that they needed to follow up on. So part of what we'll be talking about here with the honorable men and women of the police service is really a customer bill of rights. That's really what it's about. So it's about educating them on the rights and responsibilities of customers. And we do have protocols in place that clearly establish for financial service providers what it is they're supposed to do in terms of behavior towards their customers. And we do intend to do a lot more education. You may have seen that we have advertised a hotline, a consumer complaint hotline, and this is really one of such mechanisms where we tell the public, if you do have problems with your financial service provider, here's a line you can call for redress.
Still on the financial sector, coalition of affected savings and loans customers have expressed dissatisfaction with the pace at which their payments are being done. They want government to review their payment arrangements and migrate them onto the Consolidated Bank Ghana. The group, made up of depositors and customers of the 23 savings and loans and finance houses, have therefore given government up to the end of January to address their concerns. Deputy Secretary of the group, Elijah Agbojo, has been speaking to Prince Apia in Kumasi.
Put before the government and institutions about our displeasure with regards to the payment system or payment procedure being used at the moment. Because the payment procedure at the moment is too slow. In fact, we've even termed it as the tortoise pace or the snail pace of payment. Because as I speak to you now, there are interactions with the receiver. We're made to understand that 2 weeks ago, 11,000 text messages were sent to customers of First Allied alone. But our checks indicate that that is not totally true. The number is not up to that. It is only few people who have been paid. And even if they are to go by that system, we are still not pleased with it. We don't accept it together with a capped amount. So we are calling on the government and the president that they should walk the talk. If the president has come out to say that the finance ministry and the Bank of Ghana should treat us like the customers in the universal banks, then we also expect that same as their funds were migrated, 2 of them were migrated to the GCB and the remaining 7 were migrated to CBG. We also want our funds to be migrated as soon as possible. We've given the government exactly 2 weeks. That's by the end of this month, January 2020. If we don't see anything to that effect, that our funds are being migrated and they are being credited fully, and we having the opportunity to access them at any time, in fact, we are going to advise ourselves. We know the languages that these politicians and the government understand most, and we are going to make sure that we explore those avenues to our benefit, knowing very well that this year is an election year.
In other news tonight, 3 pharmaceutical companies, Danex, Itin and Starwin Pharmaceuticals Limited, have officially listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange today after the delisting of Starwin and Itin. The listing is part of expansion plans by the company to penetrate the African market. Chairman of the merged entity, Ni Amatefiu, says the company's first target is the Anglophone West African market.
Das Pharma is the first merged company to be listed on the stock exchange for the year 2020 since the approval from regulators last year. This means that the new company will have a bigger financial portfolio to raise additional capital from the market. By this, Das Pharma may be the largest pharmaceutical company in Ghana with the merger. According to the chairman, Nick Amatefiu, the strategy to enter the West African market will begin soon.
We should be. We are looking at the English-speaking, so that's Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and then we hold Nigeria as a very important but tough market. So you go there only when you have well thought out strategy and analysis on the risk side, because Catapreco has been there, with disastrous results. Yeah?
Chief Executive of the new entity, Daniel Appiagyei-Kissi, is confident the new company will grow to cover the African market.
Expecting that Das Pharma will be bigger and better than the three legacy companies, which were Danex Limited, Iton Drug Manufacturing Limited, and Starwin Products Limited. So in a nutshell, we're expecting that the new company will be bigger and better, and that we can grow, and growth is looking at Ghana and beyond.
Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Ekwa Afeji, has been speaking about what the listing means to the Ghanaian bears.
Like ours, where you have entrepreneurs merging their entities, and it sends a strong signal out there that we should get our local companies that are small, medium-sized, to merge and become big entities, so that they can gain from the positive synergies that can come out of mergers, for instance. And that is why it makes it very significant. They moved from market capitalization of 5 million and 70 million for Starwin and Iton respectively to 33 million by doing that merger. And therefore, size increases. They can get a bigger market share. You had the chairman of Das Pharma speaking about it. You had the CEO also speaking about it. So very historic for the exchange. Becomes a merger of three entities, local entities. We've never had that before.
The company will be using technology to serve customer needs as part of its strategy.
Now, about 40% labor-intensive jobs are to disappear in 2 decades. How? Details plus more in the business news summaries.
The Global Share Alliance, in partnership with the Enhanced Integrated Framework, has launched a $3.6 million regional program. The initiative will facilitate exports of shea kernels and value-added shea products from Benin, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Togo. Urban Frontiers, an urban systems management consultancy firm, has said 40% of the routine labor-intensive jobs performed currently will disappear within 2 decades. It would be as a result of factors such as the reshoring of industries by developed countries to reduce risks to corruption, supply chains and logistic costs, closeness to consumer markets and knowledge skills. The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ebenezer Oduro-Wusu, has challenged government to promote the adoption of the International Public Sector Accounting Standards towards achieving the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. He said adopting the standards would enable the country accurately report on all transactions under the internationally accepted best practices for better financial reporting.
Stay tuned for more business news after 8 p.m. But the news continues with Aisha, and she's here.
Hi, Sandra.
Yeah.
Are you ready for new prices at the pumps?
I'm not sure I want that, but it's going to happen anyway. And it's going to go up by 3%, we are told. We've been speaking to COPEC, who have been telling us how much.
It's amazing. And no, people are no longer moved by the increase in prices at the pump.
Because the review is like bi-weekly.
Every time you wake up to news of increase. Anyway, we hope our salaries will be increased.
You're not looking happy.
I'm not sure anybody will be happy about it.
Anyway, Aisha, over to you.
On to the rest of our stories. The Electoral Commission's Eminent Advisory Committee has directed the commissioners to, as soon as possible, schedule a meeting with the country's political parties to resolve the controversy over the decision to compile a new voters register. It follows a meeting with the commission to outline the justification for the procurement of a new biometric voter management system and the compilation of a new voters register for the 2020 general elections. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson monitored the meeting and now reports.
The meeting was called at the behest of the Eminent Advisory Committee and lasted for close to 3 hours. It was aimed at addressing the numerous concerns raised by the political parties and also for the EC to justify the need for a new register. Journey sources say the issues of cost and timing were thoroughly discussed. IT experts at the commission also admitted the existing register could be upgraded for the conduct of the 2020 polls, but explained it would be even more expensive. The advisory committee also raised concerns about the EC's communication strategy and asked the commission to improve upon it to ensure political parties understand the process.
Government appears to have revised its policy on aid dependency propagated by the Ghana Beyond Aid mantra, arguing even America and Germany rely on aid. Delivering a lecture at this year's New Year School at the University of Ghana Wednesday, Senior Minister Yao Safo-Mafo said what is required is for Ghana, or any receiver of aid for that matter, to be allowed to decide the priority sectors that require aid and also be in the position to determine the utilization of the aid. He adds aid can come in cash or kind. The senior minister spoke at the New Year School a while ago.
More important to them, and they believe in the Osofo more than what their husband or wife tells them. And Osofo ne kan you. Just like our children, their teachers. When the teacher says something, what the teacher said is all is the truth. And I'm so, oh, the teacher, I tell my grandson, no, this one, the teacher is wrong. What's it? Grandpa, teacher, they only mistake. And now he's a teacher, grandpa, only mistake. That is a concern. And therefore, I was correctly, no, grandpa, teacher, the only mistake. And that's how it is. Academia, they must do the research, they must partner and do a lot of things. The media, the way they send the information out is relevant for our development. Take our papers. Nobody wants to come. But if you look at the emphasis of your newspaper reportage and economic development, you see that certainly it's not directed to development. Political parties. Ghana, as far as I'm concerned, have two major political parties. But it's not new. In the US, they have the Democrats and Republicans. In the UK, they have Conservative and Labour. And when politics develop, you get two, like left and right type of mentality ruling. So Ghana, we have two like our former masters, so it's okay.
Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei, says it is unlikely that President Akufo-Addo will reshuffle his cabinet. He explains such reshuffle is unlikely to make much impact, considering it is just a few months to the 2020 elections. Speaking to Joy News' head of political desk, Dr. Akoto Osei, proposing the postponement of any such reshuffle to enable his colleague ministers consolidate their achievement.
I cannot speak for the president.
I mean, your expectation. I mean, not for the president.
Personally, I don't know the value in doing a reshuffle 9 months before an election. My advice would be, look, we have a few more months to election. Let each sector minister consolidate all the gains they have made. And then after that, if you are doing a reshuffle, because if you reshuffle me and put me in a new place, the learning curve is steep. 9 months is not enough for me to change the whole thing around. So I think that assess where everybody is, know what needs to be done in 9 months to complete as much as possible, and then wait till 2021 and reshuffle. Then give people more time.
So you will not advise any changes as far as
if I were asked,
the government structure?
I would not. No.
Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia in the coming days will present to Ghanaians successes chalked under President Akufo-Addo. According to the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, communication of government's flagship programs as well as its achievements has been poor. Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei said that is the reason why most Ghanaians do not fully understand the flagship programs and thus are unable to identify with the achievements. President Akufo-Addo pegged fulfillment of campaign promises at 72%, a claim the largest opposition NDC is asking government to provide proof. But Dr. Akoto Osei is confident government will soon make the evidence available to Ghanaians.
The evidence is available. It's going to be shown to cabinet tomorrow, and then it can become public.
Oh, you're going to show it to cabinet? The cabinet hasn't approved it yet.
No, it's available with the vice president's office. But it's not a matter of approving. It's making it known to us so that we also will know. Not everybody knows all of it. But the Vice President's office has done the homework, so he's going to let us know in cabinet that, look, this is why I said it's 72%, so that the rest of us can follow.
Is that to suggest that when the president said it, the rest of you have not seen it?
Not all of us. Okay. Those of us who work close with the Vice President knew the information, but not every member of cabinet has seen them. Because what the Vice President was doing was not to work for us. He was gathering evidence to give to the president so that the president can make those statements.
How much input did I guess, as we've seen today, a lot of that data will come from the ministry.
Definitely.
How much input did the ministries put in? Those who are actually implementing this?
All of the information is coming from the ministries. The vice president has also gone around collecting some of this information.
But it appears that a lot of them, the ministers themselves, will be seeing this for the first time tomorrow.
No, as for the individual ministers will know what they've done. They may not know what the rest is.
There's going to be scrutiny.
No, he'll be reporting facts. We are not going to debate it. If Minister of Trade and Industry says, I have 58 factories in operation, it's evidence. People can check for it. So the vice president is not going to invite us to go and check. It can be proven.
I'm assuming these are already been verified facts that they're going to present.
Definitely. You know, the vice president is a very meticulous person. He will not just accept what people say. And so I'm sure that they've done their whole.
All passport applicants will from March 1 this year have to go through an online application process. The manual system is being phased out by the end of next month as part of reforms to address the problem of congestion at passport offices across the country and the activities of middlemen. Director of Passports, Francis Kotia, has been explaining the system in this interview with Joy News editor Fred Smith.
Some has it that when you pay for the express processing, you get your passport printed, the final product, in 10 days. When you pay for the regular or standard application process, you get your passport printed, the final product, in 21 days. Now, the online system is not going to reduce these days yet. It is still going to be the 10 days and the 21 days. So it is the process that we are going to ease. But we are going to make sure that this process that we are easing would ensure that if we say it is 10 days, you get it within 10 days. If we say it is 21 days because you are paying 50 Ghana cedis, you are getting it in 21 days, and it's not 25 days. So I believe that, yes, it will be able to quicken the processing speed for all of us, and that would ensure that we stay within these days. I mean, to reduce the number of days from 10 days to a lesser date would require a different set of reforms. That means that maybe we have to introduce new fees, say, okay, we can now process passport within 3 days, so pay something more. We haven't gotten to that yet. So we're still going to maintain the 10 days and the 21 days, but what we envisage is that the new system would ensure that if we say 10 days, it is 10 days. If we say 21 days, it is 21 days and not 22 or 25 days. If it is 22 or 25 days, maybe there could be a problem with the application process itself. And once you draw our attention to that, we'll sort it out. So this is to ensure that, I mean, we just stay within that.
This process is taking effect when?
By 1st March.
1st of March.
Yes.
After years of research, government says it will not introduce genetically modified organisms or GMO foods in Ghana. The announcement was made by Agric Minister Dr. Owusu Akoto yesterday at the results fair underway in Accra. There's been resistance by many NGOs to the planned introduction of GMOs, with campaigners citing safety concerns. The Agric Minister says research done by Ghanaian scientists is enough to cater for the country's food needs without adopting artificial methods.
I'm a scientist. I believe in science. GMO is a method of science, but it's like cracking a nut with a sledgehammer. Ghana doesn't need to go GMO. We've done a lot of, our scientists have done a lot of research on creating new varieties for all kinds of situations. You'll be amazed if you go to the universities and the CSIR organizations, the amount of research that they've done, the work that they've done. The difficulty is that most of their products are sitting on the laboratory shelves and are not coming out to serve the farmers. The essence of planting for food and jobs is to do precisely that, to bring these well-researched varieties created by our own scientists, to bring them to the farmers. And to do that, you need what we call the extension services. The extension service in this country was almost dead when we came into office. I was supposed to have 4,400 extension officers around the country, and this figure has stayed the same for 40 years. And yet, when I did a count, I had less than 1,600 extension officers. I had to go to cabinet of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to plead that they should be given permission to resuscitate the sector. Approval was given, and now we've employed 2,700 this year alone to bring that service back so that the connection between our scientists and the farmers will be re-established. So, my lady, forget about GMO. There's no GMO in what we are doing. It's only when we have exhausted all the beautiful work done by our own scientists that we may have to fall on it, and that will be another 100 years, because there's a lot that our scientists have done using traditional breeding methods.
Hello again, let's do more business news. The Energy Commission says it will soon engage traders of imported fridges and other appliances to enforce the ban on importation of the product. Although the Commission admits second-hand fridges are smuggled into the country, it says engaging the traders is a first step closer to ending the menace. Hubert Nsong-Zan is inspector in charge of the energy efficiency at the Energy Commission.
If you are bringing a consignment and you don't declare what you have, then you are smuggling the product. So they are aware that fridges are banned, but they find means of getting it in, and the only means is not to declare them. So these are things that have happened, and we have been very, very strong about this. We have set our men at the port to work with customs, and so far close to about 30,000 refrigerators have been seized. So even though you see these things also in the market, the next step is to go to the market and do the seizure from there. Because if there is a source and somebody is getting it at the end, and you stop the end, person from getting the source will have nobody to supply. And that is the way forward. So we are giving, as part of our work program, we will be engaging the importers on this. They are aware it's banned, so ideally we don't expect to see it. The next thing is the market. How do you get your stock? Informal engagement with them is that, we knew the ban was coming up, so we decided to stock some of them. You cannot falter them because you don't have any evidence. So the excuse they are giving now is that what you are seeing in La Paz, in Kaneshie, is not imported, but they are old stock. And I think there's a way forward. We will have to take inventory of what they have in an agreement with them, so that as time goes by, we don't expect your old stock to keep on increasing. And I think that will be the way forward. So officially, used fridges are banned. And when you go to Tema Port, the importers, everyone is aware. When you go through the GCNet system, there are no history or import history of refrigerators in commercial quantity, used refrigerators. So per Ghana standard, it's banned. Question is, physically, we are seeing it in the market, so we have to find a solution for the market. And we don't go violently. We think it's more of a dialogue that we should have with some of these shop owners.
But have you taken steps to have this dialogue, or would you say you need more help to enforce this ban?
No. So once it's a law, it's very clear on that. So for us, you have to indicate these things as part of your programs. And we are saying 2020 is part of our program to engage them and probably agree on a certain moratorium. We agreed on that with importers, and they had some grace period to import. Now it's banned. Same will happen to those who are selling. If you say it's old stock, for how long? Since 2012, you've had old stock up to 2020. So the only way to get to that end is to agree on an inventory. You open up, we come to your shop, you say you have old stock. We are not taking them, but we take inventory of what you have. And then we give you a grace period for selling.
Some commercial motor riders, popularly known as Okada, say any attempt by government to ban their trade will render them jobless. Interacting with a session of them at Circle in Accra, the operators say their livelihood is dependent on the Okada business, as they make as much as 150 Ghana cedis a day. Fredrigo has more.
The debate is really getting heated. A number of people think government should take firm stance to ban Okada riding in this country. And others also, like those who are in this business, are saying no. They have no other job to do aside riding Okada. And this is what really put food on their table. And if government would rather consider regularizing it and structuring their operation, it would be much better than considering an outright ban.
We are all Ghanaians. So I don't know the kind of work he's expecting me to go and do. And I know a lot of bad boys from Konkomba, Agbogloshi. I've known these coastal areas and these bad areas. I know a lot of bad boys, criminals, robbers. But since Okada came, they've stopped because the Okada work. They do their work all right and they get money. If you are a Ghanaian, you are in the country, you don't have any work to do, what will you do? Since the time Okada came, have you ever heard of Kwashe before? Have you ever heard of it? How many times? But the time Okada no day, you go here, today Kwashe Nima, Ashiyama, Konkomba, Agbogloshi, Circle. This time self, criminals, they decrease for sec because Okada work day.
What will you say has been the benefit in terms of monetary terms? When you come a day, for instance, how much are you able to get before you close?
For that one, I will not say, man, I will not tell you. But things were really hard before I entered into Okada. Things were really hard.
They believe when government want to take tax from them, they are willing to pay.
A day I make like, let's say, normally a day 150 cedi a day. Yeah, that's what I make a day, 150 cedi.
In these 150 cedis, the government didn't take any tax from you, right?
No, there's tax. I have road waiting insurance, you understand? So what tax again?
Okay, so recently the doctors from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital were saying that a number of you, some of you really, have been riding recklessly. So the accident is becoming too much. So they are calling on the government to ban the Okada riding. What do you make of this call?
No, they cannot ban it. Why should they ban it? Because of accidents. Accident is normal to have an accident. If you are a rider, you're supposed to, you know you are carrying a passenger, so you have to be careful. You understand? You don't ride anyhow. You understand? Accident is accident. That's why they call it accident. It happened. You understand? So if you're a rider, you're supposed to have two. If you're an Okada rider, you're supposed to have two helmets. And always you have to be careful.
Will you say this business is lucrative?
Yeah. Yeah, for me. You understand? That's what I do. I don't have any job anywhere. Yeah. So if they ban it, what else do they want us to do?
A number of them, as you can see behind me, are raising concerns. They are saying, should this Okada business be banned, they really have nowhere to go until government really put measures in place to provide them with work to do. Here at Circle, I am Fred Duho for Joy Business.
Now, crude oil prices today on the commodity market was $64.17 a barrel. The commodity made a loss by negative $0.32. Gold sold at $1,554.69 an ounce with a profit of $8.30. Here's the figures in the commodity news. Business number. Before we go, a quick reminder that all marketing companies are expected to review their prices at the pump from tomorrow. That's according to the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumer, Dan Kanama. He's been telling us that he confirmed that from tomorrow prices will go up as much as by 3% per litre. So take note, when you go to the pump, you may pay more for your fuel. That's how we end business tonight. My name is Sandra Esenam Up, and of course, you can get more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Do have a great evening.
That will also be it for the bulletin tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and on behalf of the rest of the team, enjoy the rest of our programs.